He came in 22 years ago. If he had handled his money, his monetary matters so well, he wouldn't have been working by now. I picked the prescription form and it's like there was only 2 medications I knew on there. So the question I asked myself is, how am I going to survive? 4 pieces of advice for new overseas nurses in the UK. Apparently, this is what I'm going to talk about in this video. And the motivation behind this video is that I had a friend who has come in not long ago. He called me, I think, a few days ago, and they wanted to seek an advice. He thinks that I've been in the UK for quite some time now, and I may have some stars to tell him. So along the day, his success in the UK may come to limelight. So I spoke to him a lot on the phone, but I felt like there are other people out there who may also need these pieces of advice, and that is why I feel like I have to share this in the video form so that anyone out there who is probably new in the UK, has come in here to practice as a nurse or midwife, may also tap into this blessing as well. So this is what I'm going to talk about in this video, and if you think whatever I'm going to say here will give you much value, then why don't you come with me as we look at that. My name is Setstak Wajimai. You can simply call me Kobe. I'm a Ghanaian trained nurse who is currently working in the UK as a registered staff nurse. Okay, so probably I've been here for like 2 years now, and what I'm going to share is based on my experience. It's based on what I felt like I had to know before I came in here, and other stuff. Okay. What I would say is that if this is your first time seeing my channel, I really appreciate you for being here for the first time. What this means is that if you have not subscribed yet, just hit the subscribe button and become part of the family. And also make sure that you are clicking on the notification and that small bell close to the subscribe button so that anytime I upload a new video, you quickly be notified to get to watch. So with these tasks that I'm going to share with you, apparently you may have come to the UK, it's like you don't seem to be getting the headway. You go to the world and things seems very difficult for you. It's like, this homesickness and everything is falling in place. What I'm going to share with you here are the 5 pieces of advice I felt like someone had told me the very first day I set my foot in the UK. And not even that, I would have been much happier if someone had told me this before I moved from my home country to the UK. So if you are watching this and you are new in the UK to probably practice as a nurse or midwife, then this will go a long way to help you. I'm going to start from the very last one, which is number 5, to the very first one, which is so much important to me. It will be tough at the initial stage, but you will sail through. I remember when I came in here, it was very difficult for me. There were times that I remember my first day on the ward, I nearly cried. Things were so different. It's like medications were so different. I picked the prescription form and it's like there was only 2 medications I knew on there. So the question I asked myself is, how am I going to survive in an environment where, as a nurse, the main job or the main role I have to perform is to give medication, and here is the case, I only know just 2 medications. How was I going to survive? It's going to be very difficult, at the initial stage, because it's a new environment, new policies. You are just trying to adapt to the system, okay? But with time, you definitely sail through. So if you're an overseas nurse, probably you've come in not long ago, and you go to the world and then things don't seem to be falling in place. It's like things are completely new to you. You don't know where to pick stars. You don't know where to, you don't even understand the policies. You don't know how things go. It's like, everything seems completely new to you. What I want you to understand is that you are coming from a new environment. Things are different from where you used to work. And then now you are in a new environment, things will be totally different. You meet different people. You meet different medications, different policies, different procedures, different ways of doing things. It was much more of a Herculean task. Things were very difficult for me. And I felt like I had made a mistake moving from my comfort zone to coming to the UK to pursue nursing. I know there are most people out there who feel the same, but what I want to assure you is that it's a matter of time. Remember where you have come from. Don't forget where you have come from. I received this piece of advice. I think the first week I came in here, I was on the ward when I met this agency nurse who happened to have come from Zimbabwe, or I think Botswana or Kenya, one of them. Yeah. So we ensued in the conversation, and then he said that he knew a Ghanaian nurse. I mean, he works as a Ghanaian nurse in London. So he gave me his number, and when I came home, I called. I just felt like, I mean, I'm in a new environment. I have to tap into the experience of people who have already been here for quite a long time. So upon conversation with this man, he had been in the UK for 30 years, so you could see that he's amassed the experience and a whole lot of that. And the advice he gave me was I shouldn't forget where I'm coming from. And the explanation he gave was that most international nurses, when they get a chance to come to the UK, they forfeit their home country, thinking that the UK is better, it's much, much better than where they are coming from. But the advice he's giving me is that even though there are opportunities here in the UK, but then I shouldn't forget where I'm coming from. And I think thinking through this advice, it's worth it because let's say a time comes and it's like the UK says we don't need any international nurses any longer. You all have to go back to your country. The question I ask myself is, where will I go to? Will I go to the USA? No. Will I go to Canada? No, because that's not where I'm coming from. I'll be going back to where I came from. Okay. So me forgetting where I come from is just a mistake. I mean, apparently I'm making the biggest mistake of my life. And I've had most of my friends say that once they come in here, they are never going back to their home country. I can never abandon where I'm coming from, no matter the situation back in my country. I still come from there. Apparently, it's this country that trained me to become a nurse. And for me, it's the same thing I would probably tell you here. Don't forget where you're coming from. Don't forget your background, okay? That's a simple thing I can say. Remember, there are some people back home who lay their shoulders down for you to stand on to get to where you are. I mean, don't probably forfeit them. Don't forsake them. Probably you can think through to see if it's relevant to you or not. But it's the fourth advice I will give you on here. Remember that your presence in the UK is not a sign of automatic financial freedom. Most people, when they get a chance to come to the UK, it's much more of the fact that they are going to amass huge sums of money. They are going to be financially free. They are going to be financially stable, and that they wouldn't have to worry about money and the monetary issues any longer. But then that is not the point. That is much more of a misconception. It's a myth, okay? And that is why when you get a chance to come to the UK, I mean, people back home, family back home, friends back home think that you are well to do, that, I mean, you don't have to worry about money. So probably if someone needs money, all they have to do is to call you, and then because you're already in the UK. I remember, I think the first or second week I came in and I had this advice from an experienced nurse who has been in the UK for like I think 20 or 25 years, okay? And he was telling me that if he had handled his money so well, I mean, he came in 22 years ago. If he had handled his money, I mean, his monetary matters so well, he wouldn't have been working by now. So what this means is that probably he had mismanaged his money, and up till now, he's still working. If you don't have the financial management skills, you end up earning more money, but you can't probably use that for anything. You gain nothing out of that, okay? You see, as you receive your first salary, you realize that it's not enough to pay all your bills and take care of yourself and then your family. So let's say you are receiving £2,000 at the end of the month as a nurse, and you are supposed to pay, let's say, 500 pounds as your rent, okay? You're supposed to pay the council tax. Probably you are paying TV license, you are paying Spotify subscription, Netflix subscription, you are paying, I mean, a whole lot of stuff that at the end of the day, all these things may be extracted from your salary. So the question is, how much will be left for you to save? So if you don't have that kind of financial management skills, if you don't master the financial management skills, at the end of the day, you may be in the UK for like 10 years, 20 years, and then you have nothing to rely on, okay? So as a new overseas nurse, taking care of your finances is very, very, very important. And if you should ask me, what I would say is that, I mean, you should start reading good financial books. I mean, financial management books. Start investing in these areas, okay? Buy books that talk about financial management and then read them. And I would say that is one thing that has helped me. If you're not very sure of which books to read, I'll leave some in the description box, okay, so that I can get access to them. Just buy these books, sit down, and then study them. So you just have to be very careful of how you handle your money. Otherwise, you'll be in the UK for like 10 years, 5 years, 20 years, and then you have nothing to show for it, okay? And I also say that subject yourself to learning about some investment opportunities here in the UK. subject yourself to learn about investment opportunities, because to be financially stable or independent is much more of creating more assets, okay, creating more stuff that bring money into your pocket, okay. So I mean, in the course of learning some of these things, I got to realize that if you want to be financially independent, we are looking at asset and liability. An asset is something that brings money into your pocket, and then a liability is something that takes money out of your pocket. So if you have more assets, what happens here is that you'll be getting more money. And if you create more liabilities, money will be going out of your pocket. So for a new overseas nurse, the first mode of getting money into your bank account is much more of your salary. And at the end of the day, you are going to pay your rent, you are going to pay your bills, you are going to pay your council tax, and a whole lot of that. So all these things are taking money from your pocket. So the question is, what other investment opportunities can you look at? So at the end of the day, you wouldn't be found wanting. Learn how to manage the little you are given. So at the end of the day, you can create a lot out of it. I'll be sharing some investment opportunities in the description link, okay? Especially, I mean, buying shares in Netflix, Amazon, and a whole lot of that. I'll share the link in there, because you have to grab some brokers, some authentic brokers here in the UK to be able to do that. And I also say that research about some side hustles that will make extra money for you, okay? Because at the end of the day, you have to look at how you can relieve the pressure that amount on your salary. You know, I remember when I came in, my first salary was like £1,600, and then out of this, you are going to pay like 400 and something pounds as rent. Okay, you are going to spend like, let's say, £100 on food stuff. You are going to buy clothes, you are going to do that. So at the end of the day, you may be left with just a peanut to save. You have to look back home. Friends are asking you for money, family is asking you for money. So you just have to look at ways you can financially put yourself in a place that you wouldn't be found wanting. You don't have to be too knowing. Don't be too knowing. I wrote this down, I think my second week of coming to the UK. So what I would say is that, remember, you are in a new environment, and in this environment there are people who have worked for like 10 years, 20 years. Others have worked for so long a time, have retired, and because of the COVID, have to be brought back into the system. Okay, so what I would say is that you can't know more than them, and even if you do, you do a lot of good if you can humble yourself to learn and learn more from them, because that's the only way you can match up with them. Okay, what I did was, you see, I just realized that even though I had knowledge about some of the stars that were going on, because you may be paired with some experienced staffs and you'll be learning one or two things, but I felt like, in as much as I think I know, is what I know probably matching up with what the system or the policy is. So mostly what I do is that I tend to ask questions just to clarify stuff that I already have in mind. Okay, I remember one time I went into the treatment room to prepare this medication, and it's much more of an antibiotic. Even though I never come across it back in my home country, but because I had worked with some experienced staff, I knew how it was all about, and then how to prepare it and a lot of that. So I went in there, picked this medication, and then started preparing. And then all of a sudden, I had a nurse pop in, prepare the medication, because she thought that I was new and then didn't know anything at that time. So I just kept quiet and then listened. And you know what happened? There was this thing that she said that even though I had read about this medication, I never came across it. So this is a way to learn from people. And the point is that if you appear to be too knowing, no one will be willing to teach you. People will suppress their knowledge and then wouldn't be telling you much more stuff that you need to know as a new overseas nurse on the world. So what I would say is that just be humble, try to listen more, and then try and ask questions about things you already know, just to confirm whether they match up to the policy or whatever has been outlined or laid for you to follow as a nurse on the world. And I think this will go a long way to help you. It's very, very important to me, it's very, very important to me. Okay, and if you're not taking any of the pieces of advice I've talked about, don't forfeit this one. Just stick to this, okay, because it's what will determine your stability and your stay in the UK. And you know what that is? OSCE. So what I said is that Please suppress the excitement, the comfort, and then care yourself on the OSCE. It's all joy to have the chance to come to the UK to work as a nurse. The prestige that comes with it, the excitement, the enthusiasm, the all the positive stuff that follow this. It's all good, okay, but don't let all these things go into your head and overlook the OSCE. Remember, you've got only 3 attempts to pass your OSCE. Even though you might have written your CBT, you might have written your IELTS or OET and passed, but once you get to the UK or once you're in the UK, all these things doesn't matter anymore, because the only time you have your PIN or the only time you be called a registered nurse or registered midwife is when you have passed your OSCE and it has been issued a PIN. Until that, you are called a pre-registered nurse. Then what this means is that you'll be paid as a pre-registered nurse, and that wouldn't be enough to even cater for yourself, your bills, and then your family back home. So don't let the excitement blind you. Just put that somewhere, pass the OSCE, and now the day you can pick that excitement up, you can pick that joy up, you can pick up any positive stuff that come around with it up, and then you start enjoying. If probably whatever I said is not making any sense to you, remember that it is the OSCE that will determine your stay and your stability in the UK. If after 3 attempts you don't pass, probably you've got only 2 options, and the main one, the dominating one, is for you to go back home and then start all over again. I don't think you'll be happy going through this mess. If you have not subscribed to my channel, hit the subscribe button right under this video and then become part of the family, so that anytime I upload a new video, you'll be the 1st person to get it. Thank you very much, and hope to see you in my next video. Bye.